Fight fans, welcome to the PBC Podcast, brought to you by Premier Boxing Champions with your host, Kenneth Bouhairie and Michael Rosenthal.
Welcome everyone to the PBC Podcast. I'm Kenneth Bouhairie.
And I'm Michael Rosenthal, editor of USA Today's Boxing Junkie.
I want to thank you all for joining us. We are now just a couple weeks away. David Benavidez versus Demetrius Andrade, top three, maybe a top two, maybe the best matchup at 168 pounds right now. Saturday, November 25th at the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, live on SHOWTIME pay-per-view. Do you know who you're picking yet?
Oh yeah, I knew who I was picking the moment that the fight was made. I don't think I'd pick anybody to beat Benavidez at 168 pounds, not even Canelo Alvarez, although I would have some trepidation in that one, because obviously that would be a challenge. Well, these are all challenges at this level of boxing. I just think that Benavidez is the complete fighter. He's an absolute beast. I just love everything about him. Now, having said that, if I were handling Benavidez, I'd be nervous about this fight because Andrade is that kind of guy, that kind of tricky, experienced, athletic, quick guy who throws punches from all these weird angles. He's the kind of guy that even if you beat him, he can kind of make you look bad, that kind of thing. And I think he's got a chance to win. But I'm just a big fan of Benavidez as an all-around fighter. So yeah, I'm going to go with David.
Yeah, there's just a lot on the line for both guys in this fight. I just think whatever it's going to be fierce, man. It's going to come down to, like, who can impose their will. Can Andrade back Benavidez up? Can he hurt him? Or will, Benavidez start to go downhill, like Brandon Jacobs and just break Andrade down? I suspect that Andrade has a few tricks up his sleeve that he'll unveil on fight night. I mean, he has an extensive amateur background, the in-ring experience, gym experience, and he's been highly successful at every level. And this is his moment. If there has ever been any critique of Andrade, it's that he hasn't been in the ring with a big name opponent, or one considered an elite fighter. So what does he do? He signs up to face the man considered the boogeyman of the 168-pound division, David Benavidez. To me, that's big, but David Benavidez, he has more weapons in his arsenal than people realize, too. I think he can box a bit. He applies intelligent pressure. He's an excellent counterpuncher. He's heavy-handed. And I think he's just as determined because he believes it's his time, and he's willing to put it on the line against anyone at 168. So I just think it's a special fight, a special night, I don't know. I have no idea. But as the fight gets near, though, I start to play all of these scenarios in my head.
Well, my philosophy is to go with as soon as you hear the fight's made, to go with your gut feeling, right? The moment that the fight's made. Obviously it doesn't always work, but that's sort of my approach to these things. I think that's a good point about Andrade. I can't think of another fighter whose first truly big event came this late in his career. Unfortunately for him, I feel bad for him in a way, but at least he got it.
Bernard Hopkins.
Yeah, I suppose. But at least it happened for him. No, I think Hopkins fought Jones when he was young. I mean, he had some big fights when he was young, but Andrade has not, definitely. He's had some good fights, but not like this. This is enormous. The thing about Benavidez, though, maybe I should know this. Should tell me if I'm wrong. Has he been hurt? I can't remember anybody hurting him.
I think, he's definitely been dropped before, and I felt actually...
Well, dropped and hurt are two different things, right?
Yeah, I felt 2 fights ago, I think it was against Liam Williams, I forget the fighter's name. I thought he looked...
Did he get rocked?
I think he looked like he was hurt there. I mean, it's kind of hard to say, but I thought he was hurt in that fight.
It's hard to imagine him get hurt, is what I'm trying to say. I think in addition to everything he brings in the ring, I think he's got a good chin. I think he's a really, really tough guy. Yeah. But again, you're right. Andrade is a special kind of guy. So I applaud. Well, it was a no-brainer for Andrade. I had to take, but I applaud Benavidez for taking this fight.
Yeah, it's a risk. It's a risk,
and it's a tough fight.
Tough fight. So I'm looking forward to that, and it's a great card. Our guest this week is in the co-main event of Benavidez versus Andrade. He takes on David Benavidez's older brother, Jose Benavidez Jr. And if you didn't watch Tuesday's virtual presser, then you need to go on the PBC YouTube page and check it out because, I mean, there is no love lost between these two, and understandably so. It's a huge crossroads fight for both. So let's bring in one half of that fight: the undefeated WBC Middleweight World Champion Jermall Charlo. Jermall, first things first, I think I speak for the multitude of boxing fans when I say that we are glad that Jermall Charlo is healthy, returning to the ring. How does it feel to be, back on the big stage in a big event in Las Vegas?
I'm happy. I'm honored, honestly. I'm thankful. I know it's a place for me, and boxing has always healed me. PBC has always treated me right. SHOWTIME, big stages has always fit right on me, and I'm kind of back where I started, and I feel good to be home.
Did you miss being in the ring?
I miss being in the ring. I miss the grind. I miss making weight. I miss everything about it. I miss sacrificing. I miss everything. So, I'm back where I belong.
You sound like a hungry fighter again.
Oh man, I got my hunger back. Man, I'm telling you, it's surreal to me that the fact that I did so much in the beginning, not knowing what I was doing, and then now I actually realize, like, dang, life took its turn, and I still grabbed it by the reins, and I rode as far as I could.
Love it. So that press conference today with Jose Benavidez Jr. was just lit. What was it that set you off?
I don't know. It was I don't know. I try not to spaz out and go back to the old me, but I'm back to the old me when it comes to fighting. That's what I do. I fight. He try to play games and play mind games like he don't, know what's going on. But he try to mention all kind of when they trying to hit you with a low blow, oh, mental health, this and that. He trying to talk about everybody else, but he never mentioned nothing about him. Then the moment I mentioned, hey, you all happy about knocking out your last opponent was, 36-15. He shut up. He got quiet. I'm telling him I'm not in camp. He's like mentally, he don't know what's going on. It's what it is. I just got heated just because I'm ready to fight.
Very good. Does a press conference like that make you want to run back to the gym and just work that much harder?
I said that same thing as soon as the press conference. I was like, bro, he got me ready to go crazy. I'm about to go make weight tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's been talking about the layoff. You've been out of the ring for 2.5 years. During that time, obviously, you went through a lot. What would you say was the biggest lesson that you learned throughout all that?
I keep telling everybody, the biggest lesson I had to learn was patience. I never had patience, and me being off made me want to get back and get right fast. I learned patience. I learned how to focus on my mechanics and use what I do have. I'll use what I do have to get back into the ring and get what I can get out of it. As long as I can. I realized how much the body meant to me, and I had to focus on it.
You need more time in the gym, and given the layoff, did you need more time to sort of get back to a longer camp to get back?
At a point, I wasn't focused on boxing, man. I was really just focused on my mental, bro. Not to keep talking about, I guess they're using it as fuel, but I had suicidal thoughts, waking up in the middle of the night, just I couldn't be around my kids. I couldn't be around my family. Didn't want to talk to my mom. Just didn't want to just leave me alone. Everybody just turned my back against everybody because I could figure myself out. Yeah, I had a bank account full of money. I could have just did whatever I wanted. None of that bothered me. I didn't, don't care about that. I know I'm going to be taken care of. Just I'm not, I was in a dark spot, bro. And everywhere I went, it was dark. It just wasn't where I wanted to be. I was just, and then I was I would mess up and make myself even even feel better, try to make myself feel better and go out or go hang out with my guys at his house and see him with his family, look at him just looking all happy and everything. It's just, I'm telling you, I was just in a dark spot mentally, physically, just boxing wasn't something I was focused on at the moment.
How did you pull yourself out of that?
Go ahead. Okay.
How did you pull yourself out of that? What kind of woke you up?
Start praying. Take a shower and praying. I fall asleep in the dark praying. Don't even know where the bill's at. I gotta go to the mailbox. So I'm so tired. We'll go to the mailbox at 3, 4 in the morning just to check my mail. Just sit by myself sometimes and sit in my loneliness. Just start scheduling things out. You gotta be a man, gotta get up, you got babies to take care of, you got mouths to feed, we got family, it's not it. Go to the boxing gym, put on some gloves that Mike Tyson gave me. I'm like, oh man, I didn't feel good doing it. Just kept praying. It's like, and just woke up one day and just like ready to give it another shot. I got myself back together.
That's awesome. That's so good to hear. You sort of answered my next question, whether you felt pressure to return back to the ring, but it sounds like no. It's not like you had the right priority, that you needed to get well first and then the boxing would come later. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I have to get my mental back right. I wanted to get back. Like, I had to get up in shape up here first before I could even get my body back going. I couldn't even get back going. I was like, I'm telling you, I couldn't even get back going. It was like prior, like way before I even went to see Roy Jones and all that. I was just already starting to feel better. But then I would crash every time I did feel like I was at where I wanted to be. It was just like, what, like, you know, like, and then one day I got up and I grabbed my WBC belt off the top of my living room canopy. It was on the hanger sitting in my living room. I would grab it. I looked at my WBC belt and I was just like, I felt so thankful. I just started thanking God. Then I grabbed some wipes and I cleaned it off, cleaned the dust off of it. And I put my boxing shoes on. And I had my boxers on with I was in my underwear in my boxers. and I had my WBC belt and I'm looking in the mirror like, yeah, Jermall Charlo. I'm saying that to myself. And just in my loneliness by myself, making myself feel like, yeah, you got it. And I got back up and I went to the gym and I'm telling you, it's a movie. It's a movie. I'm just letting it flow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Hey, physically speaking, when you step back into the gym, like full-time training, was it difficult, like getting your timing back? And when did you feel like yourself again physically?
Today, I take it every day by day. Physically, I mean, I can run miles and miles and miles. That's cool. I did, Shay. Training the body not to get hit, the reaction. I use Roy Jones to help me with that. I use Ronnie for this. I just start using my resources. And once I started using my resources, I started noticing in my body, like, boom, I caught that. Like, you know, I shot the same J-Rock uppercut. That's what got me the belt. That's what, like, you know, I started noticing that, like, Jermall Charlo is back. Now I'm gonna get the chance to show y'all on the 25th that I'm back.
Do you, you know, I believe you're back in Houston now. How does it feel? You're like a veteran in that camp now because you got David Morrell there. I saw a photo of you and David Morrell and then Vito Melnicki. So you're like the veteran in that camp now, the young veteran. Do you feed off their energy a little bit because they're, you know, young and hungry and they haven't gotten to where you've been to, you know, so they sort of look up to you as the accomplished fighter in that gym. Do you feed off of that energy?
No, I feel it. I hate it. I hate it. like, hey, like I'm not giving out spankings or nothing, you know, like, well, you know, no, we all work, man. It's all good chemistry. It's more than that. It's a lot of like young fighters and like, you know, people on the rise in that gym. It's just how it is, you know. It's almost like you gotta remember when Kobe was dunking on everybody. Then he had the little Achilles tear, and then he came back and he was shooting around like everybody, like, but he still played hard, but he knew how to dictate the offense and stuff, telling other players what to do. Then they end up getting another championship. Told Fisher, you shoot the last shot. Normally we just seen Kobe do that. We're like, no, you shoot it because I know, like, so you got to use your resources, and that's what I started doing.
So you feel like your game is going to be even more well-rounded? Like this is the second, like Jordan coming back, you know what I mean? He was more.
I feel like in this is the fourth quarter. Like, I feel good. I feel good about it.
Good.
I'm happy about it, and endorsements are flowing in, and life is back. You know what I'm saying? The lights are on. Let's go. Like,
Jermall, you mentioned Roy a few times. Roy's one of my all-time favorites. What's the single biggest thing you've taken away from him?
Roy never stops getting better. And I think that's one thing about Roy that kept him in boxing for so long and kept him like the man of boxing and the man of his generation, like a lot of people don't know this about Roy. He just never stops getting better. Like health-wise, he's getting better. He philosophizes to himself. Like he's the type of person that, like, you write your name on your homework. He didn't erase his name like 5 times because he wanted to be perfect. He wanted all his words to be the same size and letters to be the same size. He's like one of those guys. He's a perfectionist. And that's one thing that impressed me about him and wanted me to get closer to him, because the way he is with his kids, the way he is with his wife, the way he is, how he eats, he's humble. I mean, this Roy Jones, like, people just don't know. I mean, me and Roy out in the middle, he told me he's taking me fishing. I'm thinking we're going to this little pond. He takes me in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico to bodies of water, sharks and animals and shit everywhere. And I'm like, bro, you not scared of that? Like, no, he's like, no, I'm going to teach you how to fish. I'm like, I know how to fish, but not like this. Like, so we end up having, times like that made me like, come on, you put me in a Jeep. He riding around in a $50,000 Jeep on his property, taking me and showing me everything around this 80 acres and stuff like that. It let me know that, like, life is just more than boxing. It's more than boxing. He's teaching me just the small things at a time. Rome wasn't built in a day, Jermall. Rome wasn't built in a day, Jermall. It don't matter if I'm shooting a basketball. He's teaching me. And that's how I think. It's just always getting better.
I'm jealous. I want to go on a fishing trip with Roy Jones.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was great.
He can do everything. He's all around dude.
I bet. So Jermall, there was a lot of talk of you fighting Canelo Alvarez. That fight went to your brother, put up a valiant effort, but came up short. Why do you believe you're the guy to beat Canelo Alvarez somewhere down the line?
I just feel like I'm strong enough. I could take those arm punches and all those little wild punches, and I could stand up to the crowd. I could stand up to y'all. Like I'm in my mind. I'm not thinking about all of the money and the critics and all this. I'm just really going to fight. Like, I'm a straight fighter. I feel like I can warrior down to like his antics. I feel like I can fight him. I feel like I got some skills and some weapons that will be easy to use against him. Almost like the size, the Bevo look. I have those. Like, I know how to punch from the outside. I know how to put pressure on you from the outside.
Do you think that fight's a realistic possibility for May?
I feel like it could be. Let's get this one out the way, and then I will go pressing it. And if they hit that button and it's call time, it's go time, I would, yeah, for sure.
Another opponent that's been talked about you obviously is Caleb Plant. Everyone's talked about the altercation. Do you see you guys stepping into the ring at some point in the near distant future?
For sure. I got to get my leg back.
So if you had to choose between Canelo and Caleb Plant,
I would definitely go. If I had to choose, then I would go with Canelo to get, get that out the way, because that's something that's been brewing up. That's something that's fresh and hot. But like Caleb Plant, I could fight him on like any day. Like he like one of those, like, we can fight anytime.
You have so many big names at 168. Is there
everybody want to fight me, man? I stepped out the door at 60. I got work to do at 60. Jana back, all these other fighters, everybody coming up, new names, new people. Like, let me get myself going, and I got so much work to do. That's why I'm so hungry. I'm so back to it's lit now. It's lit.
Well, you just answered my question. I was going to ask you if there's any particular fighter that would keep you at 160, but it sounds like you're there for right now.
I'm here right now. Let me get myself back moving and going, and we see the little Pakistani doing whatever his name is, can hold off Jermall Charlo. It's not me going to get him. Can he hold me off?
Got it. So sorry, go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, I was thinking about Carlos Adames too. Is another fighter that's been calling you out nonstop. What?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's
you know what? I know his handlers, and he's a Dominican guy. Yeah, Dominican guy. Yeah, man, I love all those fights, bro. Like I love all those fights. Like, trust me. I love it, dog. I love it. It's all positive. You know what I mean?
Excellent. Jermall, look, let's close it out with this. Do you feel you need to make a statement against Benavidez to show that you are indeed back?
The statement will be made. Jermall Charlo is back.
Perfect way to end this. Jermall, this is a great interview. Appreciate your time.
Two elite fighters at 168 pounds. Both fighters unbeaten.
Benavidez unloading.
Both men two-time world champions.
Andrade delivering punches.
Both fighting it out to position themselves to Canelo Alvarez's super middleweight undisputed crown.
David Benavidez has stopped 6 of his last 7 opponents.
The most avoided man in the super middleweight division.
This is the biggest fight of my career up to this day. These are the type of fights I want. I want to make my own lane. I want to fight the best out of the best.
This guy is a great fighter. He's a champion, Olympian.
Oh, and down goes Nelson.
Pay-per-view. This is the Super Bowl of the 168 division. This is the biggest fight that could be made.
His fighting style is different. He's a lefty. His combination selection is different. I know when great fighters get put in front of me, the best comes out of myself, and I become a great fighter.
Toe-to-toe with Benavidez. Lemieux is down.
I think it's going to be a great fight. I think our styles are going to clash real well.
On a right uppercut, left, and another right hook.
May the best man win, of course. We're ready to rumble.
This is my passion. This is something I love to do. They're going to see 110% myself in the ring.
Andrade and Benavidez will be seasoning up some turkey.
November 25th, the best versus the best.
On Showtime pay-per-view, David Benavidez,
Benavidez-Andrade.
Really good to talk to Jermall Charlo. Really happy that he is back in the ring and looking forward to seeing him against Jose Benavidez get on that great card. But it's now time for Mike and I to go toe to toe. And this week we are looking at 5 opponents for Terence Crawford. Crawford, the undisputed welterweight world champion. He is sitting on top of the globe right now. And he has options. I mean, great options. I love every fight on this list. We're going to start with the rematch. Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr. We saw what happened last July. Crawford dominated a spectacular performance. Mike, what about the rematch?
So I'm going to be honest, as I always try to be here. I personally am not hugely enthusiastic about a rematch with Crawford because I thought the first fight was so decisive that it really didn't automatically call for a rematch, but it certainly is a legitimate fight, whether it takes place at 147 or higher than that. Spence is a really good fighter. I wouldn't be surprised if he and his team could make adjustments to make the fight closer a second time if they meet again. And if the fight takes place above 147, maybe that would help Spence. Maybe he'd be more comfortable as a bigger fighter. He has said that he wants to fight at 154 going forward. So is a rematch is something like just has to happen? Probably not. But is it an intriguing fight? Absolutely an intriguing fight.
Yeah, for sure. I still think there are questions regarding these two, not as far as where they're at historically, but I mean, based on that first fight, I think very few foresaw what we witnessed in that first fight. What happened? Was Crawford that much better than Spence? Did Spence have an off night? So there's still questions, but if the rematch were to take place, how do you see the fight playing out?
I guess I'll give the easy answer. I think the same thing would happen. Again, I just said this. Errol Spence is a special fighter. He's got a great team, great trainer. I think they would make adjustments. Maybe it's a little bit closer, but I just think that Crawford's a level above, and maybe he's even in Spence's head at this point after a performance like that. I don't know. But like I said, it's funny. I'm saying that I'm not hugely enthusiastic about it, but damn, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see what would happen.
Yeah, and at what weight are we going to see it
50,
happen
50,
at?
I think 50. It would have to be 54, maybe a catch weight or like maybe 150 or 54, I think.
Yeah. I think, then the question is, do we see a rejuvenated Spence at 154, baby? And what did he take away from the first fight? And how does Crawford look at 154? Maybe he's that much better, So repeat or revenge, I don't know, but I would love to see two of this era's best get it on once again. Let's move on to the next bout. Terence Crawford versus unified junior middleweight world champion Jermall Charlo. Charlo still the man at 154 pounds. He and Crawford have a history. We saw Bud lean over the ropes and trash talk Jermall a bit during the Spence fight. I think the buildup would be tremendous. These are two sound boxer punchers. Mike, I would love this fight.
Yeah, I think this is the ultimate matchup for Crawford right now. I'm setting aside Jermall's loss to Canelo Alvarez, which was just, a big swing and a miss. I think he remains a force at 154, as long as he stays there, which is what you just said. He's one of the best fighters in the world, pound for pound. Now, Crawford is the best fighter in the world, pound for pound, him or Inoue, in a way, in my opinion. And he fights at 147, which is only one division below 154. I think Charlo would have a natural size advantage, but not like the one Canelo had over Jermall. Crawford is big enough and certainly has the skill set to give Charlo absolute hell. That would be a hell of a matchup. One of the best possible matchups in the sport, I think.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I'm still stuck on the buildup. I can just see these two trash talking each other, and just it would be insane. But what happens when they meet in the ring?
I'm not sure it would be like Crawford and Spence, but Crawford's like Benavidez to me. I wouldn't pick anybody to beat Crawford. almost the weight almost doesn't even matter. Like even if he went all the way up and fought Canelo, I might pick Crawford. I don't know. I'm just obviously a huge fan of his ability. I think this is a tougher fight than Spence probably for Crawford because Jermall is naturally quite bigger. Remember, didn't Crawford start at 135 or even a little bit less? Right. So he's really moving up in weight, and Charlo's been at 54 for a long time, maybe even should be 160 pounder. So there is a big size advantage. I said before a slight size advantage, but there's a significant size advantage for Charlo. And then if you add in his all-around ability, again, he's one of the best in the business. That's a tough assignment for Crawford. I just think that his special talent, special talent, if you will, I think that would allow him to prevail. But man, again, I would just absolutely love to see that fight.
Yeah, me too. And I think that folks might look at that Charlo fight versus Canelo and think one thing and just forget that was two divisions above Jermall's fighting weight. Yeah. Fighting a rejuvenated Canelo Alvarez. It's not the same thing. And at 154, Jermall Charlo is pretty damn tough to beat. So I love that fight. I love the matchup. Obviously, I want to see what Crawford looks like at 154 as well. But if he decides to stay at 147, there is a dream matchup at welterweight. Crawford versus the undefeated 147-pound top contender and rising star, Jaron Boots Ennis. I'm sure, Mike, you got a lot of thoughts on this one.
Well, I salivate when I think about that potential matchup. The problem is I doubt the fight will happen in the near future because Ennis is still building his name. But man, oh man, I can't just from tools versus tools. I just can't really think of a much better fight. I'm not sure anybody in boxing has the natural gifts that Ennis has, including Crawford. I've said it before. Ennis's combination of speed and power reminds me a lot of a prime Roy Jones Jr., which is the ultimate compliment in my book. I believe he could definitely give Crawford problems. Again, I don't think it will happen anytime soon, but in terms of the tools they bring into the ring, this would be just an absolute epic matchup.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you know what? I think that it's a viable fight for Crawford's next fight. I think Boots is ready. I don't know if there's any way to really get ready for Terence Crawford, but I think that Boots is ready for that next step, for that next level. And why not against Terence Crawford? I think it's an excellent matchup. Their skill sets, size, ring IQs. It's just, high-level boxing. This is boxing at its best. Both guys are mean. We know what Crawford is like when the going gets tough, and we saw what Boots was made of against Roy Monvilla, where he fought fire with fire and just had much greater artillery than a very heavy-handed Villa. So It's just a great matchup to me, and perhaps easily the best matchup at 147 right now, and could be the best matchup at 147 that we've seen in a long time. What would happen if these two met in the ring?
It'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think the situation would be this. I think if let's put it this way, Ennis would have to be as good as I think he is to have a chance to win this fight. In other words, if he's even just a tad below the ability I think he has, I mean, Crawford could win this fight easily. But again, I do think he's the real deal. I think Ennis is the real deal. He would be at a slight disadvantage in terms of experience, big fight experience. Like Crawford's been there so many times. Ennis is still sort of moving into that thing. I don't know how important that is, but it certainly doesn't hurt. So I would definitely pick Crawford in this fight, but I just think it would come down to what Ennis's ability is. If he's as good as he seems to be, I mean, who knows what happens in that fight? Maybe he wins the fight, but until I see it, I would go with Crawford.
Yeah, I mean, Ennis looks like he's special, but even then, I still feel he would have to raise his game. I mean, that's how good Terence Crawford is. But Ennis has everything. I mean, the skill set, the natural ability. I mean, everything. Like, this could be... I have no clue what's going to happen in a fight like this. None whatsoever. I have no idea what is going to happen. And that's the kind of fight I want to see. So I really hope that this fight can be made at some point, because I just think they're both special talents. Let's move on to the next potential opponent for Terence Crawford. And this might take a Herculean, kind of effort from Bud, the undisputed super middleweight king, Canelo Alvarez. What are your thoughts on Canelo versus Crawford?
I know this matchup is fascinating to a lot of people, including me on some level, but I don't like Crawford versus Canelo. I'm not saying that Crawford wouldn't have a chance of beating Canelo. He would have a chance because he's a better all-around fighter than Canelo, in my opinion. The problem is that he'd be moving up 3 weight classes, which is just a bridge too far, in my opinion. I get why Crawford would want to fight Canelo, the enormous stage to be on, and what would obviously would be a career high payday for him. Those are powerful incentives to make that fight. You just can't ignore the size difference, though. Jermall Charlo was a really, really good fighter, too. Look what happened to him. I hope Crawford-Canelo doesn't happen from a boxing standpoint, but from a business perspective, if this is something Crawford wants to try to do, I get it. I would understand.
Yeah, I mean, if Crawford, I understand the financial reasons for making the fight, but if, Terence Crawford will move up and fight Canelo Alvarez, I wouldn't say I might pick him to win, but I'd have to think twice, because I've learned not to doubt that man ever, first of all. And secondly, he is just that good. I would rather see Crawford probably at 47 and 54, and then can see, particularly for Canelo, not even Crawford, but there's so many great 168 pounders right now that I want to see Canelo face. Particularly the Benavidez-Andrade winner. So that's the first fight that comes to mind for Canelo. So maybe this is not necessarily the first matchup that I want to see for Terence Crawford, but I wouldn't mind at all. I mean, I think it'd be a great fight. The question is, Mike, how do you see it playing out if the two were to actually square off?
Well, again, I think Crawford is a better fighter pound for pound, but moving up 3 divisions to fight future Hall of Famer who looked really good in his last fight, I just think it's too much. I think I would just take the safe route in that fight and say Canelo would win a decision, maybe a close decision. I don't know. Maybe he hurts him and knocks him out. Again, the size difference, that could happen too. I would just play the safe route and go with Canelo. I just think 3 divisions is too much.
Yeah, I think you have to make Canelo a favorite in a fight like that. And look, hey, weight classes do exist for a reason. So this would be a tremendous effort by Terence Crawford, but if he were to take it and win,
legend.
More than that,
it'd be like Leonard and Hagler, but maybe even more.
Even more. Yeah. I mean, that would be an incredible victory. We'd have to start talking about, Floyd Mayweather might have to come out of retirement. I don't know. I mean, it's that would be one.
I'd like to see that fight. I'd like to see Crawford against 50-year-old Floyd. Not
no, I would sleep on Floyd even at
I agree.
But let's move on to the final matchup, and certainly last but not least, because this is one hell of a matchup, if you ask me. Terence Crawford versus the undefeated WBO junior middleweight world champion, Tim Tszyu. Mike, I love this fight. I love the matchup. I think it'll be mean. I think it'll be vicious. And I think that they're going to bring out the best in one another. What do you think?
So this isn't one of the more talked about possibilities for Crawford, but it's a really good one. I think Crawford Charlo is bigger because I think Charlo is still perceived as the king of, the junior middleweight division. Tszyu is one of the hottest fighters in the world, though, with victories over Terrell Gausha, Tony Harrison, and Brian Mendoza. He is just absolutely rolling. I love his combination, Tsuyu's combination of ability and fighting spirit. He's just a badass, kind of what you just said. I think he's become a legitimate rival to Charlo, which would make him a legitimate opponent for Crawford. Tszyu probably isn't at the top of Crawford's list of potential opponents, but he would make for a legitimate, compelling matchup, no doubt.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think this is a special matchup. I think the buildup would be great. I think the energy in the arena would be just electric. What happens, though, when that first bell sounds?
I think Crawford, I would never sleep on Tszyu. I have a lot of respect for him, but I think Crawford would just sort of be a step ahead throughout the whole fight. I've said and written that Tszyu doesn't do anything particularly well. He just does everything well, which makes him a special fighter. I don't know if he's got the speed and athleticism and reflexes to hang with a guy like Crawford. I just don't. I think he'd have to be better than I think he is to hang with Crawford. I think Crawford probably outboxes him, probably even hurts him at some point and takes him out.
Yeah, I could see sort of Hopkins Trinidad kind of performance from Crawford in this one, where he uses movement, his jab, just slowly breaks Tszyu down. But what happens if he can't? What happens if Tszyu's size and strength are that much more pronounced against 147 pounder? I mean, we see what he does to 154 pounders. So it's a great
matchup.
I'll take any one of these fights, Mike. It really doesn't matter to me. I think he gets tested in any and all of these. And hopefully we see at least one of them in 2024. But for now, that's going to do it for this week's show. We want to thank Jermall Charlo for joining us, of course. Looking forward to seeing him in the ring against Jose Benavidez Jr. Saturday, November 25th on the David Benavidez versus Demetrius Andrade Showtime pay-per-view live from the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. We can't wait for that, and we're going to be discussing it more. Stay tuned for more boxing talk, more banter right here on the PBC Podcast.